Time now to review headlines on today's newspapers with Ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspaper Limited's Group Executive Director, Kayode Komolafe. Good morning, KK.
Good morning, Abby.
Good morning,
Steve.
Good morning, KK.
And good morning,
Good morning, KK. How are you?
Very well, and you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So we go straight into it. We'll start with This Day on Sunday. The lead story says with 25% of votes at stake, Atiku, Tinubu take battle to Northwest. APC kicks as ex-VP says the North doesn't need a Yoruba or Igbo candidate, but a pan-Nigerian from the North. On top of that, senior lawyers lament depleting number of Supreme Court justices, seek constitutional amendment to increase apex courts judges to 30. And on top of the masthead, in another jamboree, Wike, Makinde, Ikpeazu, Autumn jet off to Spain. That's on page 12 of today's This Day, from London to Port Harcourt to Ibadan to Abuja, now to Spain, Español. That's where they are now. And on the window, Nigeria, 3 other countries sign additional MOU on $25 billion gas pipeline. Tompolo security firm uncovers another illegal pipeline for crude oil exports. And last but not the least is the story on page 13 of today's This Day history as first aircraft lands in Ekiti Airport. And if we have to touch on the cover picture, is the investment summit, I believe, in Kaduna. There you have the presidential candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with the Jigawa State Governor, Abubakar Badru, and Kebbi State Governor, Alhaji Abubakar, at the Kaduna State Investment Summit held in Kaduna yesterday. Those are the stories, KK, for your analysis.
Yes, I think the first story, there is the photo story. That is the investment summit.
Yeah.
Kaduna.
And that is to say a big congratulations to the Kaduna State government for the successful summit. It took some days, and especially that it's an idea that has been sustained. I think for 7 years now, the Kaduna State government has held the investment summit, and the focus of it is that Kaduna being the central state, the center, of the old northern region, like the Governor Erufai said yesterday. This is the northern city from where you could reach any other city in the north, in at most 3 hours, so whatever happens to the economy of that particular city, has the potential of reverberation, of impact, on the rest of the region. So it's congratulations to Kaduna State government on the investment summit. The front page of This Day is dominated, by largely, political stories. So I think the one that will interest readers, just like Steve was trying to point out in the intro, this the jamboree.
Which one? The Wike gang?
Yes, the jamboree to Spain.
To Spain.
I think it's a matter of, it should be a matter of public interest.
It should be.
A situation whereby you have the chief executive officers of a state, of subnational government, whose job is 21/7. 21/7 job, to have the luxury of moving from one European capital to the other to hold this. It's something that is unacceptable.
Yes.
It's something that is very reprehensible. The other day, a collection of retired diplomats, what you can call the Nigerian Foreign Policy Establishment, issued a statement and they call it a national shame. That is almost a month ago, and that for this to continue, and nobody is calling, these governors, to order, it should be of concern. When last did you hear that Ghanaian politicians, assemble in Ibadan or Kaduna or Abuja to come and discuss their politics, or South African politicians, move to Lagos to come and resolve their party problem? What is the subject? What is the topic that is being discussed that cannot be discussed in Port Harcourt, in Ibadan or Abuja or or Lagos that you have to, spend, not just public money, but the time, of the people of their respective states. I think this governance, should be called in order, and I suppose it has to do. I mean, there should be something, to look at there in terms of public, code of conduct, public officials. It is not only about naira and kobo or money that talk about, but the general conduct, should be properly looked at. I think it's unfortunate that the national shame, still continues. The other story about the Supreme Court, the depletion in the number, I think it is something that the authorities in the judicial sector, should take, seriously, giving, the crucial role, that the Supreme Court, plays in the justice system. That it should not be too late, before, there is an amendment, to what is perceived to be an error, in terms of appointments into the highest court in the land. Yeah.
All right, but I wanted you to talk about this story. APC kicks as ex-VP says the North doesn't need a Yoruba or Igbo candidate, but a pan-Nigerian from the North. Festus Keyamo had posted that video on his official Twitter account. He's the APC's presidential spokesperson. And he wrote here, he says, "This is the height of desperation and daredevilry on the part of Atiku. This is so horrendous, so horrible, and so thoughtless for Atiku Abubakar to use ethnicity to campaign, saying the North does not need a Yoruba or Igbo candidate. My God, Atiku needs to quit the race today." I mean, do you think it's such an inflammatory statement?
I'm not sure it's of any public interest.
Really? It's generated a lot of buzz.
Yes, it's because people are vulnerable to their attention being distracted. I mean, this is not what politicians should be talking about now. This country is in a crisis. To start with, almost 30 of the 36 states, are experiencing, serious disasters, of flood, People are not discussing that. I mean, you are not talking of, alternative strategies, of combating it. I mean, politicians are not being asked to put forward, and debate their policies, All you just have is, tirades, people just, throwing, and whatnot. So that to me, I mean, it's not a thing that should be encouraged, What could have been interesting is that if Atiku has used that occasion to say, this is my energy policy. This is my energy, I mean, this is my policy on climate change. Exactly. Such that by this time next year, we will not be having the kind of flood disaster that we have in this country. Interestingly, in this election, from what the parties, a country that is, you can say that is virtually submerged, underwater. Environment is not an electoral issue. Nobody is discussing it. Elsewhere, in this politics, environment will be a center issue.
Absolutely.
In terms of policy, options.
Yes.
So it could have been more interesting if, for instance, Atiku had used that occasion to enunciate his environment policy, and APC is now replying that no, our own alternative policy will be more, effective. And maybe another party again will have it. But all you have is all these, these huge distractions. And I think that the media is unduly indulging people to just play up irrelevant things. These are not has no business with the material existence of the people. So I mean, for a country that is in the deep crisis, a country that is supposed to have an election in 5 months' time, and you are not having rigorous debates about the options in terms of solutions to the problem. It's quite an unfortunate thing.
Steve, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
No, but I think that the media would need to, give space to everything, no matter how irrelevant they might look, so that people can then interrogate, as we are doing, the point of you moving, gallivanting about, from one point to the other, blah, 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 for example, on the wiki thing. And then other parties who are saying, it's not about religion, it's about, from somebody from the North, etc. Let them have their say. but then let the public engage them. I think that's the major role of the media, you know, and reportage will be different from editorials and analysis, you know, and that's where you know that, you know, you just have to engage, you know, with the issues, in my opinion.
Right. Can we take one more paper?
Maybe very quickly.
Maybe the
It's
Guardian.
about the flooding
Okay, the
still.
Guardian.
The Guardian
Yeah.
still. The biggest story, I think, from Nigeria, flood sacks 200 communities in Rivers and Delta State. And then another story below that picture story there, release of Boko Haram terrorists, we're unaware, government insists. I mean, that story has been circulating for a while now. I'm hearing that we have to go. I think we have talked about the flood sack.
Just for at least for KK, and I'm sure you've read it, but I think this is a very important thing to sign out with, which is the lead story of the Punch. Buhari regime borrows 31 trillion to leave 39.12 trillion debt for successor.
I agree. That should be a big issue for this election.
Absolutely. Talking about big issue, this will be a big issue, really. All right, thank you so much, KK. It's a short time, but as always, quality, analysis.